Well, 2025 was filled with activity for our Ann Arbor chapter of Wild Ones. And as I mentioned, it was really fun to put together, just take the time to look back at the pictures that we collected. Wayne Jones is our photographer primarily, and most of them that are in this presentation are by him. And just enjoy the fact that together, we do work towards a healthy planet, helping native plants and natural landscapes thrive. And for many of you who have been Wild Ones members for a long time, you probably know that the Ann Arbor Wild Ones was one of the first chapters to be formed certainly in Michigan, but across the nation back in 1995. Uh, and that we have seen just a tremendous amount of growth in the past 5 years, as you can see from these numbers. So this year we have had 64 new members. So the it's us, of course, but it's also the theme. It's also the mission. It's also the message, and it's gaining more and more popularity. And we have the obligation and the luxury of welcoming people to this and sharing this message and sharing the know-how of this message. Our chapter has a very wide geographic spread. North to Howell, west to Chelsea and Jackson, south to Saline and Tecumseh, and east to Detroit, touching our older sister, which is North Oakland chapter, and our new sister brother, which is Wayne County chapter. And we're so glad that Wayne County is there next to us. So in 2025, we expanded our name to reflect our wide membership. We are now the Ann Arbor A2W. We went from A2W to being A3W, the Ann Arbor Area Wild Ones. And I hope that people will come to understand what A3 means, because we certainly use it a lot now. Most people don't realize that Lorraine Johnson, a well-known nature writer, is a member of our chapter. And she just chose us. She thought we would be a good fit for her. And I'm hoping that someday we can bring her to Ann Arbor to do a presentation. Maybe we'd even work up to doing some sort of conference and could feature her coming to us. She really has a beautiful message of promoting the fact that everyone and everything is connected, and that through our actions, we all have a role to play in making this world a better place for all life. So Meg actually loaned me her book, The Northern Gardener's Guide to Native Plants and Pollinators, which I've been really enjoying. So we kicked off the year with our January program, which was at Mount I, on my prairie restoration journey, which was John Blair. And we did visit John Blair's property in Manchester in 24. And this last January was an opportunity to look again through his photographs at what he has done with his 9 acres there in Manchester. And there was a lot to see. And one of the things that was most interesting to me was that when he was working on his restoration, he brought back 3 natural ponds after they had been buried in a farmer's field. So he really went back and looked at the history of the property and was making a very solid attempt to make not only something that's beautiful and good for pollinators, but really going back and restoring some of the history of the land. His work has appeared in Fine Gardening magazine, Michigan Gardener, and in the Detroit Free Press. In January and February, we kicked off our school outreach, and Sherry Thompson and I were in the middle of a snowstorm in January at the tabling event at Thurston Elementary School in Ann Arbor. And Sherry, who's a retired teacher, is really a natural with kids, and she designed a number of hands-on activities for them, which we use whenever we have the opportunity. And then, of course, there's our president, Marta Manildi, and Gasper Leone, who had a lot of fun at the Dexter STEAM night. And STEAM stands for Science, Technology, Engineering, Art, and Math. So this was Marta's second year of engaging the Dexter youth. And in February, we had more snow. So we were going to bring Mike Weiss from Kalamazoo here to speak to us in person, but we did an emergency live streaming presentation, and he just had so much to say to us. He stayed home, he broadcast from Kalamazoo, and he is a professional landscaper and designer, and he works exclusively with native plants. And he has a philosophy that a yard can be a self-sustaining, resilient plant community, which is both beautiful and interesting, and that he believes it's important, particularly in urban and suburban areas, to have a good plan to start with. So he offered a lot of information to us for the native plant newcomer or the experienced native planter, and his presentation is available on our website, and I know we have people look at it often. That night we had over 100 people tune in to watch this Zoom, which is a great resource for us to have. Mike also had a lot of resources for us to share for us, including his services in Kalamazoo, but also these wonderful books that have, it is my goal to get through all of those. In March, we had the queen of all things rain garden in Washtenaw. And some of you know that Susan Bryan is also a former president of Wild Ones. And Susan just has this incredible attitude and enthusiasm, and she makes it very clear that anyone can plant a rain garden, and you don't need special equipment, just a yard, a spade, and a few native plants, and you're good to go. So rain gardens are a beautiful addition to any landscape, and they provide a great ecological service in keeping our rivers and our lakes and our streams clean. And Susan is always encouraging rain garden folks to love their rain gardens and to be proud of what they've co-created. And to that end, in her presentation, she used examples of our members' rain gardens that they created and showcased them throughout the community, which, was very cool. We had more outreach and tabling, and here's our outreach tabling guru, Wayne Jones. And Wayne created a beautiful new display board for us to exhibit. It really has a lot of eye-catching photographs and dramatic presentation. And it had its debut at the Appleton Downtown Library Farm and was it Farm Fest, I think, Farm and Garden Fest. And it really drew a lot of people in because of its visual appeal. And you can see, Pilar, I see you're in the picture talking away. A lot of people were there chatting us up because we had such a beautiful display. So it was wonderful to have that tool, Wayne. And Wayne did most of the printing of the photographs in his own, well, I'll call it your laboratory. It's probably called something else, but you just made a beautiful presentation for us. Then we had more outreach on Earth Day. And here we are next to one of our partners, which is Adapt Billy Christ and Adapt Community Ecology, and his new venture, which is Adapt Landscaping. So he has a for-profit and a nonprofit aspect to his Adapt services. And then winter to spring, we have Seeds to Community. This was a program that was begun about 3 years ago, and there are honestly native plant activities throughout the year, January, February, April, May, and then we start again in the fall. And it's all about sharing knowledge and materials to propagate native plants from seed. And Seeds to Community offers regular opportunities, like a lot of opportunities, to collect seed, to learn about seed cleaning and stratification, planting, growing, and sharing. And in these past 3 years, thousands of native plants of over 130 different species have been spread throughout the community through this program. So it is a hands-on event of nature's cycles of sowing and sharing. Yeah. In April, we had John Metzler speak to us. John is able to capture the exquisite views of nature with his camera. And John has made over 150 trips to Mathi, to the Botanic Garden, to the Great Lakes Garden, just to capture photographs of the flora there. He regularly documents hikes of the Huron Valley Botanical Society, and he produces beautiful albums for all to view on the website. In his in the evening of April, on this night, it was April 9th, he taught the assembled group how to see through a lens, how to consider lighting, how to shoot from different angles, lie on the ground to get a bird's eye view, or a worm's eye view, I should say, to capture the essence of a subject and really think about composition when you're setting up your shot. So we learned a lot, and we started in the auditorium at Mathi, and then we moved outside it was a very early spring. I mean, almost nothing was up yet. But we moved out into the garden kind of at dusk to take photographs. And I asked people after we came, everyone was really into it. And I asked folks to subsequently send me some of their favorite photographs. And I'm going to give you a little slideshow, a little art show of what came to me after that. And then this one came up from Ron Gamble, which I think is pretty cute. He sent it in and he said, well, you did say send any picture I wanted after the tutorial, so here you go. And I ignored the rule of thirds, which is something that John taught us in composition to divide the picture into thirds, as I wanted to get up close and just show you this nice, he calls it a shed find. And he says it's big in size for the size and the weight, but weak genetics on a number of points. So in case you can't guess, Ron is a naturalist, and he was there that night, and we had a lot of fun at Mathai in the garden, creating our artwork and looking very carefully at plants, and then having some fun afterwards too. April 20th, we had the Pocket Forest dedication. This was a celebration of many hours and days of planning and planting of our own local Miyawaki pocket forest. And this pocket forest is just an enormous endeavor. And it's a joint effort of the volunteers from Ann Arbor Wild Ones, Ann Arbor Citizens Climate Lobby, Burr Park Children's Wet Meadow Project, and many other friends. To do this project, grants were received from the city of Ann Arbor, Ann Arbor Farm and Garden, Wildflower Association of Michigan, and I think Wild Ones too. I'm not sure. National, or maybe not. Mag, is that true? No, forget that. These funds were used for site preparation and deer fencing, plants, and materials such as straw bales and stakes. Here's the leadership crew for this huge undertaking. And it was so good to have such a fine collaboration. Many great young plants were donated by group members and tracked on a plant share list. And you, of course, will be hearing more about pocket forest every year as it continues to grow and flourish. And maybe you see yourself there if you're watching. It's a wonderful group, powerful group. In May, we had Brenda Sattler, the butterfly lady from Detroit, and her presentation was very well attended. In fact, we had over 53 people live, and because we do advertise in the Observer, and so more than half the folks who came were new to Wild Ones. And so it was great to get our name out, but even greater that we are offering this kind of information to the community. We also had this as a Zoom event or a live, I'm calling them live broadcasts. Thanks to Bob Hauser's connection of is it Shell and Ska, who are your broadcasters or your tech crew at the Wayne County chapter, and they came down and kind of showed us a little how to do it a little bit. And this was just a very popular presentation, and we were so lucky to have Brenda with us. Brenda is the author of Raising Butterflies and Moths in the Garden, which features 50 North American butterfly and moth species. And she raises many of them in her suburban lot in Detroit. And she is quite phenomenal. Now, we are growing an arm or an aspect of our organization, which is about advocating for native plants and natural landscapes in our area. And to that end, we became involved in the fight, let's say, as we supported the neighborhood opposition to put a building up in the Ann Arbor Public School area that involved destruction of part of the Thurston Nature Area land. And this included an oak savanna and a pond and a wetland and a prairie forest and a vernal pool ecosystem. And we are disappointed that we lost that fight, so to speak, and that construction is now underway to change that. They did do some relocating of the vegetation, the natural vegetation that was there, including some of the bur oak trees, and they actually did it well, I think. Jim Vallum would have probably a lot more to say about that. But and we're sorry that we weren't able to halt the changes that occurred there. But as we move forward, I'm quite sure that there will be more work and more attention to stewarding this property and to keeping volunteer activity going and doing the best we can to make it as natural and sustainable as possible. Jim Vallum, who's one of our very active members, and I think is here on our call tonight, is the steward of this natural area, and we all will continue to work with him to restore this land. Our other big advocacy project was the Save the Arbor project, and this came from a response to a proposal by the University of Michigan to route an elevated monorail through the Nichols Arboretum. And a community movement was organized by Wild Ones members, Bob Gracie, from afar, but my goodness, it got his attention. He was an incredible and eloquent spokesperson for this. And the efforts of Rita Mitchell and others, Marta for one, and many others, and the Huron Valley Botanical Society. And through them, others and others, there were 9,767 petition signatures against the monorail. The Ann Arbor Wild Ones issued a formal call to action and addressed the University Regents. The outcome? In June, the University of Michigan promised to reroute the monorail plan. I do think the whole thing is on pause for the moment, but if it goes forward, they're going to think about a better way to do that. So yay for us. More advocacy came from member Eric Jensen, who voiced concern about tree deaths in Ann Arbor city parks. And also, we see it on private property that is caused by weed whips and mower damage. And through his initiative, we collaborated with the Tree Town Urban Forest Project to improve education on the importance of avoiding bark damage. And from those efforts, changes have been made in tree management practices underway now and into the future. In May, we had more tabling events, this time in the town of Dexter, to raise awareness about our organization and have fun with folks and plant. And I tell you, that group, they just look like fun. And here's Marta about to give Sandy Kunkel, the recipient of the Bob Gracie Golden Trowel Award in 2024, a real live trowel to get ready for her next garden action. Our friends at North Oakland Wild Ones have invited us to join them again. Uh, they did invite us for a tour at Aduf Gardens in Detroit, and Wayne, or yeah, Wayne, you probably know how to say it right, but um, uh, Oduf designed, he's the innovative Dutch designer who designed these gardens on Belle Isle, and it is a spectacular garden. And we had gone there the year before and had a great time. And this year we were invited to come back again by North Oakland Wild Ones, or NOWO, NOWO. We had a volunteer docent, volunteer who works in the garden, be our guide. And then I think there was one of the lead gardeners was on hand too to do some explaining about design features and plant choices. Now then, WCCD, Native Plant Expo and Marketplace. Now, this is the place where thousands come to meet and Google over native plants. Everyone wants to get their fingers on those plants. And the Native Plant Expo and Marketplace offers one-stop shopping for Michigan native plants from several Michigan growers. And here you can talk to people, you can connect with companies who specialize in native landscapes, get plants, have fun. And as you can see with all the hands in the air, there's a lot of talking going on. This is usually the first week in June, and it is not to be missed. Then Brooks was showing us how to get rid of those pesky invasives. Brooks has been a park steward of the nature areas in and around Ann Arbor for years. And for the last 9 years, he's been stewarding the Bird Hills Nature Area. It is Ann Arbor's largest natural area, 146 acres. And during that time, there has been substantial reduction in the number of invasive species due to the involvement of many volunteers and stewards and the City of Ann Arbor staff support for the Natural Area Preservations Group. But mostly it's Brooks. He's doing it. So here he is explaining a little bit about Dame's rocket and how it spreads, which was really a wonderful hike. I mentioned that Jim Vallam is the steward for the 17-acre Nature Thurston area, which is located pretty much right behind his house on the northeast side of Ann Arbor. And here he is at our first yard tour, which was in partnership with the Washtenaw County Master Gardener Rain Gardeners. And many folks made it over throughout the day to see his beautiful rain garden and his amazing wealth of blooming Michigan lilies. And the prairie dropseed's not too shabby either, and the Muskegon sedge. It's a beautiful garden. In July, we had naturalists Ron Gamble and Faye Stoner take us out to Independence Lake Prairie. And here we covered, they covered a number of basic plant ID skills, considering, are the leaves arranged opposite or alternate on the stem? Do they have simple or compound forms? And some of the plants that we encountered on the prairie at at this time of year were tall coreopsis, yellow coneflower, mountain mint, early goldenrod, and prairie loosestrife, which is what is in that yellow loosestrife, which is in the inset. And this was a first for me. And Tony Spears, who may be on the call tonight too, actually has collected some seeds from her yard of this yellow loosestrife. And we are going to try to propagate some of these in Seeds to Community this year. This was really, Faye and Ron just have so much information to share. And at the end of the tour, they also offered us or sent me in suggestions for new field guides. And those listings can be found on our website. Yard tours in July. Julie Mons started this garden in the spring of 22, and her property had major drainage issues, which they were able to mitigate with a lot of hard work and digging trenches and putting in their first garden iteration. And of course, we all know things change and grow, but they really got things kicked off with a bang. And each year they have expanded and redesigned the garden, so now it occupies their entire front yard. And as Julie says, rain gardens rule. Riverbend Gardens in Manchester is Wayne Oliver's sanctuary. And it's a sanctuary that Wayne is very generous in sharing with other people who love nature for seed collecting, environmental groups, for study. And it is definitely a place to visit when you get the opportunity. There are 65 acres with 12 gardens, which make up Riverbend. His inventory includes 9 natural plant communities, several glacial features, and a floodplain with a buttonbush swamp or depression area. And in addition to the river raisin that runs through it, the property includes a 9-acre pond, 2 brooks, and over 30 natural springs. Here's Sandy's yard. Sandy, I know, is on the call tonight. This is Sandy's story in her own words. There are 3 primary reasons that determine a plant choice for my yard. It must be native, it must be deer resistant, and it must provide flowers or leaves for botanical printing. I've been a gardener forever, an avid deer resister for 8 years, and a botanical printer for 5. My first goal was to get rid of invasives. It was about a 1/4 acre of vinca, large stands of privet, which the former owner had planted, volunteer buckthorn, and large swaths of Dame's rocket. My ultimate goal is to bring my half-acre lot up to 70% native plants, and I'm only a mile downtown from Ann Arbor, and man, has she ever done it up. Towards the end of this summer, I sent out a call to the membership saying, send me projects, send me pictures, send me something from your yard that you get excited about. And people sent back a wonderful assortment of things. And this is what Amy and Aaron sent to me. I asked for it specifically because when we would see them on walks, they had told us that they were putting, different people they'd mentioned they were putting in a rain garden. And it's like, oh, well, take pictures, take some befores, take some middles, take some afters. So this is their before, middle, and after. And it is incredible. I mean, you can see the early, and here's the middle, and here's their late. Look at what can happen in one season. It's beautiful. And this is what Jocelyn sent in. And she's so excited about her half-acre that used to be fertilized grass, as well she should be. And she was so nicely acknowledges Ann Arbor Wild Ones and Seeds to Community and Seas and the people that have helped her make her sanctuary. And then Susan Morrison sent in her excitement about figworts, scrophularia, which are pretty exciting. They're so tiny. The flower is absolutely tiny. And the plant is, oh, grows in the shade and it can be up to 6 or 7 feet tall. She really got excited about this, and I was so glad that she shared it. And here's Blair. I met Blair at the Seeds to Community projects, and she's since become a member. And she wanted me to come out and kind of see if it needed anything, see if it needed to be thinned out or if it needed anything. And I wasn't sure what to expect, but I was blown away. It was absolutely gorgeous. And I thought, why is it called Awkward Island? I mean, it was spectacular, but it's actually a funny little plop of property in a residential area in downtown Old Ipsy. So the garden is beautiful, but the little island is a little bit different. So it's not awkward at all. And I'm hoping that next summer we can go do a yard tour series in Old Ypsilanti. And Blair's yard is beautiful, and her awkward island is beautiful. And we're going to try to find some more people in her neighborhood who have natural gardens that we can link into maybe a Saturday tour. Pat and Mike live out in rural Ann Arbor, just off of Superior Township, and they have quite they have a new house adjacent to a woods, and Mike has been growing plants under lights for a couple of years. And so I think he has grown most of the plants that are in his, at least a couple of acres. And of course, the wild turkeys are having a great time. And we have a member in Traverse City. And here's her story. And as you can see, she is really glad we're going online. I've had some because she wants to participate in our programming. When you join Wild Ones, you have the opportunity, most people logically join the chapter where they reside geographically, but you have the option to join any chapter. And I had talked to Leslie. I said, there is a chapter in Traverse City, but evidently it's struggling a little bit. So she said, yeah, I'm gonna. And she just sent me this picture like 2 days ago because I told her we were gonna do this presentation. She said, well, I'll send you a picture from up here. And then Sherry was having fun in her yard, and I'm always having fun in my yard. And then Meg, talk about crazy. She decided she would do her own pop-up, her own giveaway, just like Jonathan does. And she just picked a day and hauled out the plants. And here Meg's been growing these all summer long, and they look fantastic. And we talked to a lot of people that day. Hey, Meg. Yeah, it was very, very cool. And Meg's yard is spectacular. So I think it better be on the garden walk too. And so in September, we picked back up our programming with seed harvesting and Calla at the Botanic Garden. There's so many advantages for us having this partnership with Mathi, and that it's a great gathering place for us. And also the expertise, the botanical expertise that it employs by the name of many people, but especially Calla Butler. And Calla is the native plant gardens horticulturalist at Mathi, and she's responsible for maintaining the Great Lakes Garden, which is home to over 300 plant species. And one beautiful September evening, not last fall, Calla taught over 50 people how to gather seeds and when to harvest. And we had more native plant partners, more seed collecting going on, and Talk about collections. Look at this fabulous collection of individuals. We got the power team right there. It's wonderful how we really have become a community of native plant lovers and stewards. Yeah. Many of the seeds that were collected at the Burr Park Rain Garden went back to the barn to be sorted and saved, and as part of the revolving seasons to community array of activities and connection. Um, the Stewardship Network has become the fiduciary home of Seeds to Community, and this program has just grown tremendously in the past 3 years, and we look forward to expanding our partnership more with them. I'm really grateful for all the Wild Winds members who volunteer for different seed sowing events and collecting events because our members often have a lot of information to share for people who are really new to the process. So it's helpful to have, and Jonathan's programs bring hundreds of people over the course of the year. So it's really nice to have Wild Winds folks um, volunteer to mentor and offer information. So our September yard tours picked up with Jan. Um, Here we are standing in her yard, and it is just phenomenal to think that this garden is only 3 years old. Um, she said that her journey began when she read just a few years ago Doug Tallamy's Nature's Best Hope. And incidental, at the same time she read that, she found out that their house needed some foundation work done. And so, as she tells it, I informed our contractor that I wanted to do more than double the size of the front bed and have all natives installed. And he just scratched his head, but somehow came through with 81 81 gallon native plants, and in the matter of a couple of days installed them all. And then a few months later, they had to run a sump pump out to the street, and Jan created a small little pond bog lowland area out there too. So she's done a tremendous amount of work. In Also in September, we went to Susan Margosha's house. She had purchased a house in 24 and spent a lot of time removing Pachysandra and Vinca from her very small wooded yard or shaded yard. And she completed the Master Rain Gardener class in the spring and then worked with Matt Demon of Ferroflora to finalize a plant list for her rain garden as well as for her small front yard native garden. So she has mostly shade, but things are really thriving. And um, I don't know how that picture was taken, but it's pretty cool. Meg, one of the principals of the volunteer forest team, gave us an update on the pocket forest and what had been gleaned from its creation. She was our October speaker. And it was really good to explore some of the things that had been learned and also to recap the solid ecological principles employed in creating a pocket forest, among them having less lawn, leaving the leaves, celebrating insects, and having diversity everywhere. And one thing that I'm sure came through was the kudos to the watering crew who managed up to 50 milk jugs of water to keep all those thirsty plants happy over the hot summer. And the pocket forest will continue to be a learning lab for all of us in the years to come. And our final program of the year was given by John and Susan Cross about the rare habitat where they live, Oak Openings region of Northwest Ohio and Southeast Michigan. And they have successfully restored their 20 acres of woodland and sand barren and wet prairie to provide home for rare and state-listed endangered species. Their experience models how private citizens, no matter how much they have, big or little, they are critical stewards of healthy environments. And I spoke with Susan about us taking a field trip down there in late May to see their wildflowers. And I'm thinking maybe we should take a bus. That'd be kind of a hoot. So, to be continued. So we had more advocacy. Um, we had in Canton on November 25th, we submitted a letter to the Michigan Department of the Environment, Great Lakes and Energy, or EAGLE, asking that it deny an application from Pulte Homes to fill a wetland area in Canton for housing development. And Canton is located in a former lake bed and is already experiencing negative effects caused by development. And we are monitoring the decision of EAGLE. And then ongoing is the call to action to save the Sibley Prairie, which is a very important, rare, high quality, vital lake plain prairie ecosystem on the Detroit River watershed. And I'm sure you all have been thinking about it and tuning into it. And we have the Land Trust has Michigan Land Conservancy through the Save Sibley Prairie Coalition is working on getting that 6 million to save it. And I think we have about another 11 months or something to raise that money. So we might check in with them and see how things are going there. So now we wrap up 2025 and think about 2026. And as Marta announced at the beginning of the evening, here's our Bob Gracie Deep Roots Award. The Golden Trowel goes to Susan Beecher. And this annual award is presented to the Ann Arbor area chapter member who has furthered the mission of our organization through words, deeds, and leadership. Congratulations, Susan. And such a nice photo. And we want to thank our volunteers and the committees who worked hard to make all the activities that are reviewed in this presentation. And we really have to do a shout out to Janet Max, who sent out all the notifications about our meetings and keeps everyone informed of all our goings on. She's our webmaster, and I am thrilled to announce that we will be unveiling a new and improved and very robust Ann Arbor Wild Ones website in 2026. Janet is the engineer and designer of this new communication and outreach improvement. We thank you, Janet. And if you are watching this on Zoom, yay! It's been made possible by our very cool tech guys, Bob and Wayne, and they researched the equipment we needed to be able to broadcast, my words, broadcast, I think it's some live Zoom, whatever. And we can now reach more people through our programs and meetings from the comfort of our own homes. Thank you. And we've already had quite a bit of feedback about gratitude that we're offering this option when we can. I also want to acknowledge our chapter photographer, which is Wayne Jones. Wayne is responsible for many of the photographs in tonight's presentation. And here is the board for 2025. We have really enjoyed serving you, and I hope you recognize our faces and our names. And there is one member who Marta mentioned who will not be serving in 2026 on our board, and that is Meg Delaney. And Meg joined Wild Ones in 2022. She immediately became a board member in 2023, and she's been the secretary since 2023. Her strengths are, well, she completely put together our consistent documentation and has a special skill in translating ideas and discussion into action items, action statements. And she's been a leader in the Pocket Forest Project, Seeds to Community, board meetings, yard tours. And her superpower is seeking opportunity for collaboration and native plant education in our community. And of course, sunshine to all. What you might not know is that since 2023, Meg has served on the National Board of Wild Ones as the secretary of the board. She was instrumental in developing a 5-year strategic plan for Wild Ones, setting the scope and direction of the national organization, and now is serving for 2 more years as the chair of the newly created Missions Committee, linking education, advocacy, and collaborative action for greater mission impact across the country. Ah, thank you, Meg. And gratefully, Marta Manildi will still be serving on the board as past president. But as she steps back, we must acknowledge that she has been our board president for 2 years. And this slide is the perfect snapshot of Marta, as you've already seen her face on every other slide of this presentation. She's been everywhere. She's at the core of all activity. She's been an incredible spokesperson for and an advocate of Ann Arbor Wild Ones. And just look at all that activity and action and motion and advocacy. Thank you, Marta, for serving as our president. And now for the board for 2026. And I wish everybody was here so we could back off this presentation and you can see them. But alas, we'll have to wait for that for as we move into January of 26. But you can see we have a new president, Linda Berardi, and I'll be staying on as vice president, and treasurer Wayne, and membership chair, a new face, Joy Jacobs, director at large, Bob will stay with us, and another new director, Dina Lehman Kim, and Marta will be serving as immediate past president. Janet will be our website coordinator, and Carolyn Green has stepped up to run our outreach and tabling chair, and I'll continue on as program planning chair. So with that, could you all just take a minute to pull out your typing fingers and just put some things in the chat about things you'd like to see us do, things you'd like to see us visit, places you'd like to see us go, content topics for our programs, and or a yard for us to go visit. Our program committee is good, and we seem to be coming up with things. We have our programs for next year are set up from now until we possibly go down to Ohio to the tour of the Zen environment in end of May. But we like to have a lot of ideas, and we really like to know what people are most interested in learning about. And we try to keep the native plant newcomers and the experienced native planters in mind as we plan new things and offer programming. So I am going to, oh no, I have one more slide. I'll keep going while you put some things in the chat. I just wanted to make, while you're typing things in, a little plug for Wild Ones National. It is an organization that works really hard to support chapters and to reach out to people, to be a leader in the Native landscape movement. And it has a website that is full of resources, of lists of things, statement papers, information, and an amazing array of webinars, blog articles, and it's all there right on their website. So do click into those, check into those whenever you feel like sitting down and watching something or learning something. The other thing I want to say is we're having our annual appeal, and if you donate $100 or more, you get a t-shirt. Talk about swag. Brand new, pretty cool. So that's my little plug for National. So thank you, everybody, for tuning into all this. And I do. Are we getting something on the chats? Are we? Okay.
You
Uh,
see the chat?
yeah, I do. Great.
Okay.
Uh, you know, oh, we're right on time. How unusual. If you would like, if anyone is interested, um, we could have a little bit of discussion or talk about things, or if just writing things down is good enough too. Does anybody have anything they want to say that they didn't type in? I have a quick, if not, I have a quick little inspirational, it's like 2 minute video to show. So, uh, let me know what sounds good.
Let's see it.
Okay. Queuing now.
At a tipping point. Dwindling biodiversity is
Hang on. The voice is Josh Nelson. This was put together by National, and the voice is Josh Nelson, our development director.
it is at a tipping point. Dwindling biodiversity is a threat to the foundation of life on Earth. And in the last century alone, we've lost millions of acres of diverse ecosystems to urbanization. But there is hope, and it starts with us. In communities across the nation, the quiet revolution is taking root. It's a movement fueled by passion, purpose, and the belief that restoring native plants is essential for a healthy planet. This is Wild Ones. We're more than a group of gardeners. We are educators, advocates, and stewards of the land. Together, we restore native plants and natural landscapes to heal the earth and secure a future where both people and wildlife thrive. The impact of native plants is undeniable. These ecosystems purify our air, clean our water, and provide food and shelter for the species that sustain life. Every native plant habitat, no matter how small, is a step toward reversing the damage that has been done. Together, our members have planted thousands of native gardens, creating green corridors of hope in communities across the nation. But it's not just about plants, it's about people, connecting communities, advancing environmental stewardship, and empowering the next generation to care for the planet that we all share. When you join Wild Ones, you become part of a knowledgeable, hands-on, and supportive community that inspires individuals to take action where they live. Our members aren't waiting for someone else to make change happen. They're digging in and getting it done. This work is urgent, and the time to act is now. Every day we wait is another day of loss, but every day we act brings us closer to a thriving and resilient future. Join Wild Ones today and be part of a movement that's restoring the balance. Together, we can grow healthier landscapes, strengthen our communities, and support a planet where nature and people thrive. Don't wait for change, be the change. A healthy planet starts with native plants. Learn more at wildones.org.
Thanks, everybody. I hope you're all inspired. Oh,
Or so I'll copy down everything in the chat and
okay. I do
we can
see
post
there's
that.
just, I'll make this really short. There was one question from Eric. How do we fit into the National Organization of Wild Ones? Well, Wild Ones is a chapter-based organization that all 100 chapters and 30 seedlings are all part of one organization. So I don't know if parent is the right word for it, but it's the home organization. So we are all served under one 501(c)(3), and it has an executive director. It has a board of directors with 14 members on it right now, and it has 8 staff people. So, including the national director, who is Jen Ainsworth, who is extraordinary. So when you join Wild Ones, it is all done through the mechanism of the website, which is all hosted and sponsored and created by the national organization. They keep track of all the dues, and they quarterly dispense a portion of the dues back to the chapter. So basically all the money is the same, and we use the same branding, the same resources, the same electronic support, and but we are the boots on the ground, and so we are interested in promoting native plants and natural landscapes in our neck of the woods, which is Southeast Michigan. So I hope that answers it a little bit. Okay. Thank you. All righty. We'll see you. We'll digest what's been written in the chat, and we'll see you in 2026.
Thank you all for joining. This will be the end of the meeting.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Have a good evening.